welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday, and previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, and everything in between every Saturday, and dropping some bonus content on Monday. I am, of course, your host, James Shea, alongside Kaliko Yance.
Oh, it is March. And you know what it's time for? Time to shout out to the ladies.
Yeah, and well, it's literally the last day of March. It's the dirty
Hey,
fourth,
better late than never.
and the best way that we could honor women is for two men to give to judge the greatest women of all time. We are wrestling with our top 10 all-time female wrestlers. Um, this was one of the harder lists that I had to compile, I'd say. Considering, there was so many, you know, names to choose from. Um, Instead of going with obviously, the popularity biased with a lot of these names, I kind of just went with the ones that resonated the most with me and the ones that made the most sense to me personally rather than out of popularity. That's why they're on the list. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it's trying to get the bias out of it because some people would say, who was it? Some would say, like right now, Becky Lynch or Liv Morgan, even though they were just more popular right now. Um, and yeah, it was tough. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I had to look and I was like, but me, there were some wrestlers I just died on the hill for, so it didn't matter to me. So I knew exactly. There were a couple people I was willing to die on the hill for, but
And I mean that you should. I mean, if you're passionate about it, do it. Um, so I don't think we should wait any longer. Let's get into it. My number 10. She is timeless. She is Tony Storm. From I'll admit, I didn't necessarily get Tony Storm when she first debuted in the Mae Young Classic. Um, I had to decide if I liked that tiny hat that she used to wear coming to the ring. Um, she was always a good wrestler, never necessarily a great character, until she made it her way to AEW. And in one of the incredibly rare cases where being in AEW helps somebody's career rather than, just kill it, Moxley, Edge, um, Daniel Bryan, I digress. Um, Tony actually developed one of the greatest female characters, and rest assured, it is, a gimmick. It is a character in Timeless Tony Storm. She's a 1920s actress, and it's just insane to me that no other woman has ever thought about using this gimmick before her. But I'm kind of glad that they hadn't because Tony, I don't think anybody could do it as well as Tony Storm does. Whether it's how she looks, how she presents herself, the promos are just phenomenal. When Tony Storm talks, you listen. It's it's somewhat absurd, but it still has weight behind what she says. She's still,
Hmm.
serious. And out there right now, there are few female wrestlers that can hold a pussy scented candle to the timeless one herself. And that's why she is my number 10. Kaliko?
How did she say it? Uh, I forgot the promo she said, but it was like your ass bask in the. I got the promo, but it was really good. All right. I used to say it verbatim, and now I just seem to forgot it. Anyways, uh, my number 10, I just had to take this one back because I've seen this wrestler wrestle for a while, and she never really got her due. Um, and that is Jacqueline, aka Miss Texas.
Hell yeah.
When she was literally, when it came to the women's wrestling in the 90s, I used to watch her 5 years old out there just lighting cats up. And it just got to the point where she was so good that she didn't even have women as a competition. So they had her wrestling men in WCW. She put Sable over, even though Sable was nowhere near the wrestler that Jacqueline was. Um, that girl could wrestle her ass off. And I think if it wasn't for the Attitude Era and the fact that Sable was popular, she probably would have been the best women's wrestler in the Attitude Era. Uh, a person who is just never really got her due for the Attitude Era, but her Mid South stuff was just off the wall. It was just light years ahead of everyone. Um, then, like I said, I watched that lady wrestle Monday nights at the Mid South Coliseum. So that girl was the one, and she was the only girl in town, the only girl woman show in town. So yeah, and for her to be the only woman show in town and still get that face reaction in Memphis, yeah, it matters. Number 10, Miss Texas, aka Jacqueline.
And that brings me to my number 9. And it is the sensational Sherry Martel. She was a good wrestler in her time. I think a lot of people forget that she actually wrestled and was a women's champion most of the time. Um, but yes, she was a good wrestler, but it was her character work afterwards that kind of made me fall in love with Sensational Sherry. You know, working with Shawn Michaels, getting Shawn over when, he split with Marty, working with Macho King, Randy Savage. She was a great promo. And, Randy didn't need a good promo behind him. And she could go toe to toe with Randy promo wise,
Hmm.
standing next to him. And I don't think people understand how hard that is for, somebody to do, let alone, somebody like Sherry to, have that back and forward with him. So, I think it's not something that she gets talked about a lot and definitely not appreciated as much as she necessarily could be. Um, but I always think that Sherry Martel is one of the all-time greats. Obviously, that's why she's on my list. So, That's why Sherry is number 9.
I mean, Sherry, the interesting thing about Sherry was that her manager work overshadowed her wrestling work.
Right.
Like she was such a good manager that people didn't even realize that she actually wrestled.
Right. And I believe she did the circuit, the independent, not the independent, the live show circuit
Yeah, she did. Yeah,
with
she did the live show circuit.
Randy.
Yeah, she did some Mid South work. She did some Mid South work too. So yeah,
Yeah,
wouldn't put it past her.
you're number 9.
All right, let's see. Number nine. Number nine. Number nine. Number nine. My number nine, and this is where it's like number nine. Hold on, let me look at my notes. My copious notes. I had to go through my copy. See, I'm right. I had to write them down. Like why I number nine. Oh, there we go. There it is. My number nine actually was she wrestled for both WWE and TNA, and it's good. You're gonna see a lot of crossover with this, and I think she just never really got her due in WWE, but she kind of got her due in TNA, and that's Gail Kim. Gail Kim had to go to TNA and literally recreate that women's division and practically build it. Because if it wasn't for her, you wouldn't hear like what was it, the Beautiful People,
Mm-hmm.
um, Tara, Taryn Terrell, Awesome Kong. Uh, a lot of those names you wouldn't have known about if Gail Kim wasn't there to put them, through the ringer, if you will. Um, she's in the Hall of Fame for the TNA Hall of Fame. I just think that the TNA work gets kind of underbellied a little bit because it was during that time when they were trying to just be. And by the time they got big, Aces and Eights kind of overwatched everything so that the women's division kind of got overshadowed. Um, but they were still putting out banger matches there. So yeah, number nine, Gail Kim.
That brings me to my number 8, which is also a TNA alumni. She is one drunk bitch. ODB. Um, Nobody has the same aesthetic as ODB. Nobody wrestled like ODB. And like you said, when it came to, those banger matches that the women were having at that time, ODB was very much prominent and um, in that mix. Um, I think she was the only woman to hold the TNA Tag Team Championships with Eric Young. I believe she had to relinquish it because he went missing or to a fishing show. Um, you pick. But for a very long time, ODB was a big part of TNA. Always entertaining. You always, when she came on your TV, you always knew something crazy was going to happen. She was going to either have a banger match, a banger promo. You wanted to see what ODB was going to do because it was always going to be entertaining. Um, and yeah, that's why she's my number 8. Kalika?
Yeah, MDB, man. Yeah, that was another one. Jeez. My number 8, good wrestler, wrong generation. Alundra Blaze. I mean, she was the star of WWE when WWE wanted to promote women's wrestling.
Unfortunately, they only had
But
Bull Nakano to wrestle her.
yeah, I know it felt like every match was just her versus Bull Nakano.
I mean, honestly,
Uh,
your number 8 should be Alundra Blaze slash Bull Nakano.
I mean, yeah, you might as well just, yeah, you can't have one without the other, right?
Yeah, put them both in
Because
the
they were
coffin at the
literally,
same time.
they're literally the two. They're yin and yang because they were the only two women's wrestlers fighting for one title from 1993 to 90. It's
Right.
like a 3-year feud for the women's title. It was just crazy. But you know what? But she made the best out of it. And I mean, AWA was where she was, getting her chops in. WCW kind of, she was more known for the belt thing than anything.
Right.
Uh, but my thing is that her wrestling ability was up there. And this is where my list kind of tended to go towards wrestling ability versus wrestling popularity. And that's where I was struggling because it's a lot of good abled wrestlers. I mean, now you could easily make a top 10 just with the women today, but when you're looking at skill, it's just like she had the skill and it was just right skill, wrong time. So yeah, number 8, Alundra Blaze. Alundra Blaze?
You might even say that about my number 7, AJ Lee. I She started off on NXT. I don't think anybody necessarily thought too much of her until she kind of started a rivalry. I don't even want to say a rivalry, but where she was the love interest of CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, and Kane. And while these three men, and obviously main eventers, all three outright, AJ Lee was the one that everybody was looking at from week to week. AJ Lee was the one that carried that storyline and being, that Black Widow that she was. And, you know, I still remember that one Monday night on Raw where CM Punk was on the top rope. AJ Lee kisses him and pushes him off the top rope into a table that had Daniel Bryan on it. And then she prompted to do the yes chants as the show went off the air. At a time where divas were only having 5-minute matches at best, and I'm being generous with 5 minutes. AJ Lee was the sole focus point of that storyline, and she was the last thing you saw on your TV screen when it went black and the show turned over to Law and Order. That's something special, in my opinion, when a woman can do that and carry a storyline and be somebody. You're not thinking about the match. and CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Kane, you're thinking about what is AJ going to do, and that just attributes to her aura that she had, that she made for herself at that time. Let alone having one of the best Divas title runs of all time, literally beating every single woman on the WWE roster in one night at WrestleMania. I think some people forget that. So, while character work,
Was that WrestleMania 30?
WrestleMania 30, it was literally the next match after Undertaker lost the streak.
Oh, that's right. Because I still remember that. I still remember that. It was like 30 on one.
Yeah.
What the fuck? How the fuck you win 30 on one?
So, a historic title reign for a title that didn't necessarily matter at the time. Like I said, she literally beat every single woman the WWE had to offer in one night. And then, transferring that Black Widow-ness esque to, I still say, a pretty memorable rivalry against a newcomer called Paige that just came up from NXT. And I mean, AJ Lee made her a star in the 6 months that they rivaled. I feel like AJ doesn't get talked about enough or appreciated enough because she was a woman out of time in WWE. If she would have done what she was doing back then now, or even like 6 months after she did everything that she did, she would have been main eventing WrestleManias. Not, just one WrestleMania, multiple WrestleManias, because the people cared about her. She had good matches, and like I said, she has aura around her, especially when it came to hitting it on the nail with her promos. And that is why she is my number seven.
I think what kept me from putting her in the top 10 was that the the skill was there without a doubt. If she had 1 to 2 more years when that Divas era was ushering, or the women's championship era was ushering in, it would have been on like Donkey Kong.
Well, I mean, she had a more selection of variety than Alundra did.
I mean, yeah, she did what the Bella Twins, Alicia Fox, who else?
Man,
She
Elisa
had.
Fox. I miss Elisa Fox.
I mean, I miss Alicia Fox too. She was, god damn it, she was dope. Anyway, so where we at? Seven for me
Yeah,
or six?
seven.
Seven. Seven. There you go. I mean, seven. You could seven. You could kind of put it with eight in a sense because it's like a yin and yang when it comes to wrestling acumen. Because to me, seven was Trish Stratus, and for Trish Stratus to come in as a model and actually usurp herself into wrestling. It wasn't like, a lot of these girls came in as at least sport athletes or they worked in the indies. I mean, she came in as a trainer and literally had to learn the ropes of professional wrestling. And it shows that she still loves it because shit, she just wrestled what, a month ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So so and she wasn't too bad. I mean,
She can still go.
and she could still go, and she had opponents to go with. Uh, most notably, her biggest two, Lita and Mickey. I'll get to Mickey later, but I mean, I could kind of put, to me, Trisha and Lita could be seven because they're both yin and yang, and they were the first women to main event Raw.
Hmm.
So that was a big deal, especially during that era, attitude ish slash getting to ruthless aggression era, the main event of Raw, and one of the very few women to actually win a wrestling match in their hometown. See, it all comes back circle. See, not everybody gets screwed over in their hometown. Oh yeah, she also has some matches with what, Victoria.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, she's had her fair share of people, but it's the fact that to make that transition and be that good is what made her like unique. So yes, number seven, Trish Stratus.
That brings me to my number six. And she is the ninth wonder of the world, China. Another one out of place, I'd say. But I don't think that there are more that have done for, intergender wrestling than, China. You know, when WWE didn't have a women's division, she was the first woman to hold the Intercontinental Championship. First woman to be in the Royal Rumble. Um, I believe first woman. I believe she wrestled in the King of the Ring as well. She was
Yep.
a groundbreaker. She trendsetter. The rules there were. She didn't play to the rules because the rules didn't apply to her. Because they didn't have a women's division, so she would have done what she wanted to do. And, it worked, and people loved her. And, obviously, part of the one of the greatest factions of all time, the Generation X. And I still remember, like, when she first debuted as Triple H's bodyguard and the way that she ragdolled Melina. Um, you know, uh, I will say this, not the best promo, but her in-ring work and everything that she did for women's wrestling, intergender wrestling, um, she's timeless. No pun intended. She's one of the greatest, and I think China should be on most people's top 10 list for just what she did for women in WWE and women's wrestling in general. So, yeah, that's why China is my number six.
Hmm. Interesting. And that's six. Um. Well, my number six is at. I think this is the first time I actually introduced a current wrestler. Uh, but when she came into the business, or when she came in the WWE, she struck lightning, and that person is Asuka.
Hmm.
I I've seen Asuka. Asuka in NXT was literally Ivan Drago and Rocky Four. Nobody was beating Asuka, that Asuka in NXT. As a matter of fact, she's probably the only wrestler to be undefeated in the entire run in NXT. That's how crazy Oscar good Oscar was. Not to mention Oscar was one of the very few women to take a beating from Suzuki Gun himself.
That's right.
So I mean, the fact that she didn't want to be considered a wrestler until that happened, and she took it straight on the chin. And keep in mind, this girl probably didn't start wrestling till her 30s. So, like, keep that in mind. She's rather up there in age.
She is.
So, to start so late and to have an impact so grand, especially as a Japanese wrestler. And I think that's the biggest key because her promos were, of course, English is broken, but you didn't have to do a promo when you knocking people out literally in the middle of the ring.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that girl is fierce with the legs, strong, fierce. I mean, if you take a beating from Suzuki, you top 10 in my book. Uh,
So Orange Cassidy is in your top 10 of men?
that hasn't happened yet. Um, till that happens, then he'll be top 10. But yeah, number six, Asuka. I mean, she's had a great Grand Slam run in NXT, I mean, WWE as well. So, on the main roster. I mean, she's done it all. Royal Rumble winner, Money in the Bank winner, uh, women's champion, tag champion, NXT champion, only undefeated NXT wrestler, man or woman. Yeah, Asuka.
That brings me to my number 5. And that is Awesome Kong.
Ooh, Awesome Kong.
You know, in 2005, you know, women's wrestling wasn't that as prominent as, it is nowadays. You didn't necessarily get to see what the women were doing because it was primarily, bra and panties matches, bikini contests, etc., etc. I still remember when they introduced the Knockouts division, when they brought all the girls out. And I remember the promo, and the narrator was some of the girls are drop dead gorgeous, and
Hmm.
some just drop you dead, and they showed Awesome Kong. And yeah, that's what Awesome Kong did. Like I said, not women weren't necessarily able to show what they were able to do, and in TNA they got to show what they could do, and it was believable what Awesome Kong was doing because she was such a fucking dread. And I think it was she even had like a long winning streak that went into the rivalry with Gail Kim. Them going through the stage. It was just an insane rivalry between her and Gail Kim. And there was obviously the one with Angelina Love. Not again, not we don't know Awesome Kong for her promo work per se, but she didn't necessarily have to say a lot. Like I said, she just knocked you dead, and it was entertaining every time. And she was just such a big part of TNA. Even her incredibly brief run in WWE, she made an impact. I still remember her just flicking Kelly's head like a doll. What she did, even though there wasn't a lot of it, what she did actually mattered. And she made an impact with her wrestling in the moments that she made. Um, Women's wrestling is the way that, it is today because of, what Awesome Kong was able to do in TNA at that time. And that's why she's my number five. Kaliko.
Man, yeah, this is where it got nitty gritty for me because it was like tough picking. It was tough picking. So, the number five that I had decided to go with, actually, she was a TNA person, and you don't hear her name a lot, but when she was there, I mean, there was a time where that was the only person that was like out there murdering people, and that's Winter.
Hmm.
I mean, she had a stone cold look. It was almost like a Dean Malenko-esque type of thing. That girl could go. He was really good as Knockouts champion. Had a really successful reigns against those of the like of Awesome Kong and so on and so forth. And I just thought that her demeanor, the way that she was able to use her body to her advantage was something really, really good to see. Um, and they don't really talk about her as much. But when I was, what she was the reason I got into TNA in the first place
Hmm.
was Winter because she was a damn good heel, and she doesn't get that much of flowers. But yeah, number five, Winter.
Well, that brings me to my number four. And I believe it was your number six, and that is the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka. And nobody's ready for Asuka. Nobody was ready for Asuka. Um, like you said, she dominated NXT. Only woman, man, doesn't matter. Never got pinned in an NXT ring. And I think she's one of the only people to have a successful Japan run, a successful NXT run, and a successful WWE run. You know, there was she ended Bailey's NXT reign, literally sent her to the main roster.
Oh
She
God, I was there. I was there. You could when I say when that happened, you could hear a fucking pin drop.
she
I,
she elevated Ember Moon where not a lot of people did. She had one of the most insane banger rivalries with Nikki Cross, where you want to say like I said about Awesome Kong, women wasn't doing wrestling like that back then. Women wasn't doing stuff like that in WWE at the time. So it was incredibly innovative, what they were bringing to the table at that time. Then she goes up to the main roster, and you know, maybe things, didn't necessarily know what to do with her at first, but when you have Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, like two of the biggest names of all time, wrestling in a ladder match with Asuka, and Asuka wins, that's saying something right there. Well,
Yeah.
especially considering that Becky and Charlotte was in the main event of WrestleMania that year. Well, the next year. That match took place in December. Um, Beating two of the biggest superstars that they had. Teaming with she had. I think people forget that she was tag team champions with Charlotte. Um,
Yep. And with Kyrie and
you know, the like you said, first woman, the first winner of the women's Royal Rumble, um, won the Money in the Bank. She's a Grand Slam champion. At some point, I think she's gonna get that Intercontinental and United States Championship just to even things out. Um,
matter of time.
yeah, but there's no title that she hasn't won. There's nobody she hasn't beaten. Loki, she doesn't get the flowers that she deserves because she is just as important of a superstar than anybody else in WWE at the time or now. Even Charlotte and Becky haven't even won Money in the Bank briefcases. Asuka did. You know, it's it kind of just tells you, her work ethic that she still has banger matches and is one of the all-time greats in my opinion. That's why Asuka is my number four.
I mean, I literally could have put Oscar one, but I couldn't. But that yeah, I think she's in her. Hold on, I'm gonna have to do some googling. She's 43.
Hmm.
Keep that in mind. So it ain't like she's she's she came in like 19 doing this. Uh, so to me, yeah, that girl can go. She's crazy good. So my number four, you may love her, you may hate her,
Oh God.
but you can't say she don't put on banger matches. People say that they push her too much, but hey, when you're that good, you're that good. Charlotte Flair.
Oh, okay.
Charlotte Flair quickly became the standard in WWE. And as much as people don't like that she's always in the title picture, it's because she is the constant litmus test to where a woman can hang. I mean, they don't put her against Tiffy if they don't think that, you know,
Tiffy
to
can go.
test if she can hang. Her and Asuka, I had a match at Mania. She beat Asuka. I mean, the triple threat match at 32 was something out of this world. And that match does not get talked about enough. Although she was involved in the first women's main event at WrestleMania 35, I think personally the fact that it's crazy because think about it, she's a 14-time champion, meaning she lost it 14 times, and people are still pissed at the fact that she won it 14 times.
I mean, she took a L to Carmella. So I mean,
You took a L to Carmella at a cash in and bounced back. I'm
yeah.
just saying.
Hmm.
Like, but that's why I think she is the current bar because I don't think there's ever a loss that's ever hurt her.
I agree with
I
that.
mean, she fought Oscar with a torn ACL
Yeah, finish the match.
and and finished the match. If that don't tell you what it is, I don't know what will.
It
Um,
such a severe
she,
tear that she got a brand new face because of it.
oh God, will you stop?
I'm sorry, I
Damn, that's not.
had to mention it.
So yeah, my number four, Charlotte Flair.
That brings me to my number three in the nitty gritty. I could have. I struggled whether I should have put a um, three on four, four on three. So a lot of these could have been interchangeable, honestly. Um, but number three for me is a hugger, a role model, Bailey. I think Bailey is, out of all the four horsewomen, the most unappreciated out of the four. She wasn't brought to the main roster, right when they had, that women's revolution right off the bat. She was still in NXT, and I dare say she had one hell of a run. First on woman match, obviously the match with Sasha at Brooklyn, brought a lot of new fans into pro wrestling because, of the amazing work that both of them did. Um, you know, as everybody knows, we do interviews, every Tuesday and Wednesday, and that match gets brought up more often than not when it comes to new, wrestlers getting into the business. So she inspired, so many wrestlers. She had, she was the first female main event of NXT paid preview, first on woman match. Um, I think and that's just saying what she did on, NXT. She had a successful babyface run as the NXT Women's Champion. Then she goes to the main roster and has one of the most successful women's title runs as a heel. And, a lot of people, a lot of wrestlers struggle with doing one or the other. Some don't necessarily work good as a heel, some don't work good as a face. Bailey was able to do both incredibly well. And during the pandemic, she was the constant. I mean, she held that championship for maybe over 400 days, with only one day where she wasn't champion. I mean, she lost the championship to Charlotte, and then the next week on SmackDown, she won it back from her. So I mean, it just shows you, how consistent she was, character wise. And I mean, even, her in ring ability, incredibly underrated. It's very, what Bailey does in the ring is very subtle. She has that go, and she has that second gear. And you don't get to see it all the time, but it's there. And she's shown it in some incredible matches, whether it was against Sasha. The Hell in a Cell match is still my favorite one of those matches. Um, she had some banger matches with Bianca, Asuka. The Nia Jax match from Takeover is still incredible. The girl could go, and she can cut a great promo and be a great face, a great heel. Bailey is the full package, and that is why she's my number three.
You dirty son bitch. You stole my number three. You stole my three. You son of a bitch.
But you got to put Oscar over more than I did, so it's give and take.
I, ditto. Ditto. I mean, the one thing I will say this, since we already are there, three is Bailey. Uh, the one thing that she has over all of the other girls was that full range. She played, what has she not played, right? She played a fangirl. She played a happy-go-lucky, happy to be here, to now I realize I can do it, to now I don't need all this and I'm finding my own self, to going into a clique, to being outside of the clique and finding that little girl in her again, and then coming back and winning the title. Her arc, over her story arc, is literally a circle if you really want to think about it. Uh, I think Bailey, when they had a chance to make her the John Cena of this shit, they really did. Uh, they went another direction and it actually worked out better for her because it just showed that she had range. Um, and when you lose a title and the whole stadium stops, that tells me you got impact. Bar none. I mean, I'm telling you, when she lost to Asuka, I had girls crying around me, like little teenage girls just bawling, bawling their ass off. Izzy was there too. Izzy was crying her ass off. So I'm just telling you, people were just like, what? So yeah, number three, Bailey. You stole the thunder, but I got to give it to you. Bravo, sir. Bravo.
I think this is the first one that we were completely in unison with.
Yeah, I mean, because to me, she's been the most, I'll say she's the most consistent while being the most humble, if that makes sense.
No,
She's the most
absolutely.
underrated, she's the most consistently underrated wrestler of the Four Horsewomen, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Like all of them seem to have some kind of bravado about them, and she does it, but the quality is still there. And
Right.
that means something.
No, you're absolutely right. That brings me to my number two. And for the longest time, this number two was number one all time of women's wrestling to me because nobody did what she was able to do in the time period that she did it, and that was A1 Gail Kim. Like I said from Awesome Kong, women weren't doing what they're doing today. I didn't know women's wrestlers could have the quality of matches that Gail Kim and Awesome Kong were having at that time. And, Gail Kim was at the forefront of that. She was essentially, the John Cena of the women's division of TNA. She put that shit on her back. And man, did she carry it to great heights. Whether it was Awesome Kong, the beautiful people, ODB, you know, she made you care. I mean, I couldn't have told you I gave a shit about Taryn Terrell before she had a last woman standing match against a Gail Kim, and
Gail Kim, yep.
yeah, all she was on another level. than women's wrestlers were at that time. Just now they're starting to catch up to what Gail Kim was doing back in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008. And like I said, she was when people if somebody would ask me who was my favorite women's wrestler, I would have told you Gail Kim for the longest time. Like it was no debate. It was Gail Kim was the greatest women's wrestler of all time because nobody touched her from WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor. AEW didn't exist at that time, so we couldn't really add
Yeah.
AEW to that list. Um, but yeah, it Gail, I don't think she gets like Bailey. I don't think she gets celebrated as much as she should be for being such an innovator of women's pro wrestling because of where she was doing it. Uh, I could only imagine what she would be able to do nowadays with the girls that are presented in WWE. I mean that being said, she is a former WWE Women's Champion as well. So I mean she did accomplish things in WWE as well. Obviously Knockouts champion as well. And yeah, I think her best quality is that she was just able to give back so much to these girls that were, you know, honestly relatively unknowns at the time. The only name you knew was Gail Kim and, Tracy Brooks. And Gail Kim, made stars out of them because she cared and she put them over. And, it's why we talk about Awesome Kong, ODB, the beautiful people. Even nowadays, Jordan Grace, what's her name? Tessa Blanchard, etc., etc. It was because girls like Gail Kim paved the way for them, and that's why she's my number two.
Mm. Well, I mean, I can see that. I mean, my number two came in a little bit after Gail Kim left and re-sparked that division, along with being in some very interesting storylines in WWE, and that is one Mickey James.
Hmm.
I mean, I told you I died on that hill. I always thought she was a very good wrestler. She's the only woman to carry that TNA title. Well, one of the few until Grace did it, carried that TNA title into a WWE Royal Rumble. Um, she's been doing it so long that you got that new crop of people, the Jordan and Graces and so on and so forth. Those women became big stars through taking on one Mickey James. Mickey James, of course, got the craziest storyline we've ever seen in WWE, culminating in WrestleMania 25. But after that, she
22.
actually was what was it, 22? Yeah, 22, 22. But after that, she was a solid wrestler, a very solid wrestler, uh, multiple time champion, uh, beating Trish Stratus is no joke. Getting inside the head of Trish Stratus in the way that she did it was no joke. Um, Unfortunately, departing WWE on some crazy terms, but bounced right back in TNA and carried that division with her country twang, her country swag,
Hardcore
uh,
country.
hardcore country. So, I mean, she lifted a division that was going through that transition with Gail Kim being on the exit ramp. And then also was uplifting women, uh, shoot, through training, through helping, uplifting them in the matches, going into the Royal Rumble, representing TNA in the WWE Royal Rumble, carrying that title. You know how much bravado your ass got? Hell, we people gave Ric Flair shit for carrying the WCW title. so, so I mean, but yeah, she's been in 20 years. She's still doing it. Um, yeah, Mickey James, number two.
Well, that brings me to my number one, and she knocked off my original number one, Gail Kim, and that so she has to be pretty good. Um, some call her the man, Becky Lynch. Um, Becky is one of the most solid solid wrestlers that I've seen at the time. When I said, you know, Becky Gail Kim was doing things that I didn't see in female pro wrestling. Not I didn't see that in again until Becky Lynch wrestled Sasha Banks at Takeover, where two women had a Bret Hart-esque match, uh, and I immediately became a fan of Becky Lynch. Obviously she had some pretty rocky road in WWE when she first came. She was there, but she wasn't necessarily there per se until she had a three-way against Charlotte Flair, um, and Carmella, which prompted her to turn on Charlotte Flair and becoming a heel that people actually cheered for because they identified more with her than Charlotte. And I was one of those people. I was like, Becky needs to turn heel. Becky she doesn't need to be the good girl here. Like, and it just bred a new life into her that prompted her. And I don't think that it wasn't because people hated Charlotte. It was that people loved Becky just that
Becky.
much more. That,
Yeah.
oh, you're gonna be good? Well, we'll ride with you. You like, what was it? Quinoa. Sure, we'll go with that as well. Huh. You're gonna turn on Charlotte? Hell yeah. Well, Becky was one of the first women in WWE that kind of became a ride or die with the fans, including myself. And, I don't think, I believe she had the moniker of the man during that run, but I don't think she became the man until, that pull apart before Survivor Series where, she's in the crowd, bloody nose, lifting her hands. Obviously an iconic moment in pro wrestling. And then you have, obviously in the first woman to main event WrestleMania, win the main event of WrestleMania, unified the two titles, Becky two belts as she used to go by. You know, that's pretty impressive. I mean, Royal Rumble winner, solid matches against Sasha Banks, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, Asuka. You know, we'll get into who she's wrestling now, but just consistent matches against the best that WWE has to offer. And some of these matches could get really brutal. Um, she's not afraid to draw hands if she needs to. The last woman standing match against Charlotte. Um, and to go from, one of the most beloved baby faces in WWE as the man, to go to big time Bex and still have a pretty consistent and pretty great character that didn't necessarily hurt her man character. It just kind of shows you her range as well. That if need be, she can do, other things. Not to mention, you know, what she's doing nowadays. She has her run. She has her place in history. She's comfortable. She put over girls like Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan. I mean, hell, she went back to NXT and put over Tiffany Stratton. And also, while having a pretty great rivalry with Trish Stratus as well. And I have to say, that was some of Trish Stratus's best work in pro wrestling was against Becky Lynch. Especially that last cage match that they had. I think it was at Vengeance or Backlash. I can't remember the paid preview. But it wasn't a matter of, championships with Becky at that point. It was that people just genuinely want to see Becky wrestle. She's still relevant. People still enjoy her. And she's one of the only women to have a storyline that didn't revolve around the title. So it just tells you, how over she still is. And I'm sure when she comes back to pro wrestling, hopefully sooner rather than later, she'll still be having great matches, putting over great talent, and, still being the man that she is. And that is why Becky is my number one.
I mean, I give you that. I will give you that. Although you had to be there for my number one. I get it. I think you had her seven. I can't remember. But number one is China for me.
Okay. She was number 6 for me.
There is six. So this girl is the only female wrestler to be the number one contender for the WWE Championship. Let me say that again. The only female to be the number one contender for the WWF Championship during the Attitude Era. So in a land of Steve Austin's, The Rock's, and Triple H's, you got this girl. The reason she only became women's champion once is because if they hadn't gave her that title during the Attitude Era, she would have had a Bruno Sammartino-esque run. Who the fuck was gonna beat her? I'm keeping it a buck. That's the only reason she only won the women's championship one time.
There's a
Because
reason
they
that
knew
they
damn well.
didn't put her against Sable.
Exactly. There's a reason they kept her ass away from Sable and Ivory. They kept her ass away. Not to mention, you said she was the first women's woman to win the Intercontinental Championship, but she's a two-time Intercontinental Champion.
That's right.
Not to mention a Royal Rumble participant, a King of the Ring participant, being in the biggest faction at that time, D-Generation X. she didn't have to say much. He was just like, it was weird because as much as Sean and them kept talking, she was just the one sitting there, and you could just tell she was just about that business. I mean, this girl was out here body slamming Mark Henry, homie. Like you just can't, like you can't get no crazier than that. That girl was, and that's why I should say, you just had to be there with her. You just had to have, you had to have been alive when she was there because I mean, I'm telling you right now, she has victories over Triple H, Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Jeff Jarrett. Think of those that now Jeff Jarrett we could put him to the side, but three of them four are, I mean, all of them are WWE Hall of Famers.
Yeah,
All of them except Jarrett won the WWE title.
yeah.
So I mean, to to do what she did in the era it was in is bonkers. Because it wasn't like she, granted, yeah, you had Sable in the Attitude Era, but this girl was beating up on the Nation of Domination in the Attitude Era. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that says a lot. Uh, Granted, her death was untimely, but she was really indeed the ninth wonder of the world. That, as a matter of fact, I still remember WWE SmackDown, the video game. I mean, she was. I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, I have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear she was probably the only woman in that damn game.
Probably.
So she was. I'm just saying, man. That 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 girl was just. She had that look like fuck you, and she could literally break your neck.
On a whole other
Dead
level.
ass. Dead ass. And I'm just talking like, I mean, it, you can't, I mean, James, I think you were probably two at the time, but, but to, to see that live was just like, yeah, like I tell you, you had to have been there because that, if you had have been there and seen it, it was just nuts. It was just nuts. It was just a a meteor going through a whole, how can I say, a meteor going through a universe of stars.
I got you.
Because I don't think there will ever be another woman in this business that will even eclipse what she did. Keep in mind, she fought Dean Malenko for the WWF Light Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
Do you know how fucking crazy that is? Oh, not to mention, uh, WWF European Championship by beating who? Kurt Angle. I'm telling you, man, that girl was just she. There's wrestlers and then China. There's female wrestlers and there's China. She's in her own atmosphere, literally in her own atmosphere. So number one for me, China.
Selfishly, I can't help but think what could have been with China, if she was still around. The matches that she could have possibly had with the girls, nowadays. And, maybe even the men as
Uh,
well. I mean, there was no limits to what she could actually do.
yeah, I mean, the only limit was herself. The only person that stopped her was her.
Low key, a match against
Literally.
AJ Styles versus China would have been fire.
I mean, that would have been a good clash of styles, pun intended.
But, yeah. If I'm being honest, there was two names that I kind of wanted on the list, but couldn't find a place for them, and that was definitely Charlotte and Trish Stratus. That kind of hurt me, but I mean, there was so many names, and I didn't want to discount ODB and, Awesome Kong for, the incredible things that they did in TNA. Because, again, before there was
Oh
the
yeah.
Women's Revolution, there was TNA.
I mean, I had that same issue because I was like, okay, where am I going to put Becky Lynch? And I told you, Natalia, I'll die on that hill. That girl was just super good. She was super good. It was just like 5 years too early.
Yeah, I'm kind of hurt that I didn't put Beth Phoenix on that list as well because, like, she was the only women's wrestler in the era of women's the divas division. So I mean, she definitely deserved her flowers, but again, only 10 spots.
Oh, oh yeah. I mean, who was it? Beth Phoenix, Jazz.
Oh God, Jazz,
Um,
yeah.
um, who else? I mean, if you're thinking new, Rhea, Io, Bianca, uh, well, you put Tony. Tony to me, she's coming into her own. I'm waiting for that book to get written.
Right. Well, that's how I felt
Uh,
about Rhea, Bianca, Liv right now. They need to cook for a while.
yeah,
They're not there. I mean, obviously Rhea is maybe more there than the others, but not quite ready to put her in the top 10.
yeah, not yet. Not yet. She's just getting into Rhea, she's just getting comfortable.
One name that wasn't
Um,
on either of our list was Lita.
I mean, I threw Lita with Trish. It was kind of like a yin yang. Because to me, I think with them two, you can't have one without the other. And they literally admit that they can't have one without the other.
I think that just kind of proved that she could hang on her own. Like I said, I really wanted Trish on the list. She had that incredible hardcore match against Victoria. She had the match with Mickey James, like you mentioned, which wasn't
Becky
necessarily
Lynch.
being done. And low key, I think she did some of her best work with Becky Lynch, a year ago. The whole
Yeah.
thank you Trish thing. Like, did you
Yeah.
seriously expect Trish Stratus to be in a Money in the Bank ladder match in 2023?
Not on my bingo card.
Right. So I mean, she's still, and she can still go. It's like she's still, athletic. So, like I said, it kind of hurt me to not have her. I'm surprised that Dina wasn't on your list.
Athena is still cooking.
All right.
And what's killing her is that Athena in NXT was a fucking fire starter. Athena in ROH is still cooking. It's just that we call ROH the land of misfit toys.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, I I still hold her in high regard. I just wish Tony would hold her in high regard and go throw her up on the roster,
Hmm. Right.
to be quite honest.
And like you said, some of these girls are nowadays are still cooking, but I felt like Tony Storm. Nobody is cutting promos like Tony Storm right now. Like
Oh yeah,
her
and look,
promo, you know, her promo skills right now, nobody could touch her. Like she's literally she could crucify anybody with her with her verbal abilities. So I had
you
to
want to do
acknowledge.
charity work, you better go to a homeless shelter.
I had to
Like,
acknowledge that. So yeah. But was there any names that you really wanted on your list? Like I said, I wanted Tristan and Charlotte.
I mean, Becky, Natalia, I kind of wanted Bianca. She's still green.
Still cooking.
Still cooking. Who else? You could make a case for Naomi, but it's too many gaps. Uh, Sherry Martel for sure. Luna Vachon for
Ooh,
sure.
yeah, Luna.
Uh, dude, I'll tell you, I was rumbling through these things. Uh, uh, yeah, Luna Vachon, Sherry Martel. I was too young for Mae Young and Mula. Wendy Richter, not real. I mean, Angelina Love was really good. The Beautiful People, just that quick click alone. Lay Cool, um, because they were unique in it. Uh, I'm trying to think of who else. Ivory.
I like
Uh,
I like Lake Cool. Like legitimately, I think they were great. But I feel like they were more of a moment in time rather than timeless. You know what I mean?
yeah, I feel you. But keep in mind, during that time, they were literally it on SmackDown.
That they were.
Um, of course, of Beth Phoenix, because she was probably the only woman that was damn near as strong as China. I think she's the only person that eliminated a man in the Royal Rumble, other than Nia Jax. I mean,
China eliminated Mick
Nia had
Foley.
no. I'm just talking about like, well, shit, I'm drunk. That's how you can tell. But anyways, um, but yeah, you got some names you could throw down there. And I'm just trying to run. I'm like running through the Rolodex. Uh,
Right.
uh, who else? Kyrie Sane. If you want to think Japanese. Uh,
Mayu Uetani.
Naomi Watani. Yep. Uh, I mean,
There was a lot of places we could have taken it.
I didn't even put AJ Lee. So AJ Lee.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
uh, who else? Yeah, Natalia, Alexa Bliss, because she did a lot in a little time. I
No
don't
pun
know what to
intended.
make of Paige. Uh,
Yeah.
see, that was another one. Paige was one that it was like iffy. uh, Yeah, it was tough. When I got to the nitty gritty, it was like, man, damn, got to pick 10 of this.
Well, are you happy with your list?
I am, I mean, honestly, it was China one, and you could put anyone else anywhere else. To be quite honest, like China was just that goddamn good,
Fair enough.
or they booked her. Either that she was that damn good, or they booked her that damn strong, and it was both. And the answer was yes. But overall, yeah, I'm happy with my list. Winter was a good one. Tessa Blanchard was actually not that bad. First TNA, first woman to win the TNA championship. Sexy star. Um,
That's a controversial one, I'd say.
yeah, it is, but you can't knock what she accomplished, and that's where it's.
Very true. I'm happy with my list as well. You know, definitely names missing. I'll admit that, but I think it's a solid list.
But no one thought of Sable.
And I don't think anybody would have thought of Sable.
You sure you wasn't ready for the grind?
I mean, I can't deny what she was, at the time for sure. But when I think about wrestling ability and promo work, yeah,
Oh
she,
yeah, she was lackluster as shit. So yeah, I give you that.
yeah. If it was, if there was a reason Sable was on any of our list, it would probably be because of boobs. So, yeah. Remember that time she had that fully loaded bikini contest in the hands? Yeah, no, that wasn't what these lists were about. All right,
That is true.
that will conclude our top 10 list. Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, both on YouTube and Castbox. Um, this, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us this Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews and follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on X, Twitter, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Where can we find Kaliko?
And I am Kaliko until Lord Elon kicks me off.
For Kaliko Yachts and Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with Entertainment.
I mean, you sure you didn't want to put the Iconics on that list?
Ooh, I would have liked that. Iconic.
Iconics.
Hey, folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.